here today at Rockwood at, of course, the Tennessee Highway Patrol Station and Museum, which is really the only one in the state we know of. Janice Morgan's with Rockwood 2000. And today we're just going to kind of go in, see some of the 2000 organization people, also some of the class of Rockwood, some of the...
Rockwood classmates.
Yeah, classmates. And then we're going to interview a special Rockwoodian, a trooper, who actually worked out of this station, the small station, before they actually built the other one as well, Jonathan Foust. He's part of the Rockwood High School Reunion Committee.
And Rockwood 2000.
So when we walk in, what will we see?
Well, we're going to see classmates and Rockwood 2000 group, plus we have Jonathan that's going to explain
all the photos and everything
on the wall. Give us a little history.
All right, let's walk in, let's go. Well, here's the man of the hour right now. Jonathan Foust.
Yeah.
Jonathan, tonight it's a special night. We're kind of going to look at the history of the Tennessee Highway Patrol Museum. You being a state trooper for, I think, 30 plus years, and started out at Rockwood and then to the county as a patrolman. So tonight we're here to talk about this museum, which is full of archives. Start me out when this actually, if you know when this building actually was constructed.
It's constructed in 1936. There wasn't anything here when it was constructed. There wasn't any houses in this area. Gateway wasn't here. Kingston Avenue, what we call it, was Highway 7.
True. So the stone structure, of course, kind of brings us back to where we're, our roots around here with the rock and crab orchard stone and things like that. They just kind of wanted to kind of keep that aspect of it. How many troopers really worked this area at that time? Do you remember?
When this was built,
Yeah.
2.
Just 2.
They had 2 motor troopers. Their area was from here to Bristol.
Wow.
That was their area they covered.
So now,
1936.
yeah. So when you came online here, what year was that?
1983.
Okay. What was your first car? What kind of car was it? You remember
It was
that?
a Ford. It was an old one. It had a carburetor, and the carburetors wore out.
Yeah.
And I caught the flu because I had to. It was in the wintertime to keep a windrow down.
Yeah.
And to keep the fumes from killing me. And,
The old 260 air conditioner?
yeah. Well, and they traded in, but before they traded it, they fixed the carburetor.
Well,
I didn't get to drive it after that.
So they fixed the car and then they took it away from
They
you?
fixed the car and then traded it and gave me a new car.
yeah. Of course, it's came a long way since then. We all know that as we're in 2022 now. But we're looking around at all these photos. Who was your first lieutenant? Do you remember that you worked under?
Joe Lemons.
Joe Lemons.
He
all right.
worked out of Loudoun County.
Okay. Of course, Sergeant.
First
time?
sergeant was Dean Norman.
Right. And Dean, of course, still living today.
Yeah.
Stacy's living in Harriman. And he was actually working in, I think, Lynchburg, where they actually had permission to sell whiskey back then.
When he came on the highway patrol, that's his first station.
Who was the first female trooper here in the district? You remember? I know Terry Brown was, Teresa Brown.
No, she wasn't the first here.
Right.
Cheryl Patton.
Cheryl Patton?
No, yeah, she was in Knoxville.
Yeah.
And
Of course, Cheryl Duncan, she went on to be a captain,
yeah.
I think. And
But we had the girl we went to church with, Kent.
Oh, yeah, Christy Kent.
Christy Kent, she worked for Owen County, the first female that worked for Owen County.
yeah. And you retired in?
Well, 2009,
Yeah.
because of my health.
So people could either love the troopers or kind of hate them, right?
Yeah. Well, we were on our way to a saturation going up north of Harriman,
Yeah.
and a guy passed us and got in front of me, and he was drunk. So I had to holler at my sergeant and say, I'm going to be late, I got to stop his car. And then I hollered back and said, he's drunk, so I won't be there for about an hour. So I had to take him and his wife to jail.
Wow. Now, we know we've seen all these archives in here. Who actually give us all of these great historic ramifications and all these
Some of them
pictures?
came from Nashville.
Yeah.
Some of them were local people that had old pictures. Now, some of those pictures are taken were back in the 30s. Those
I
old.
noticed some of those, yeah.
That picture in the middle is a graduation of the first class in 1930
Wow.
in Nashville.
There wasn't too many then, were there?
Well, the legislature passed the bill to have a Tennessee Highway in 1929, but the first class didn't graduate till 1930.
So there's a lot of folks. Well, this suit, is this how they become Smoky Bears with this hat right here?
See that yellow? That was a motor. That was back in the 40s and 50s. They called them yellow jackets.
Wow.
They're the motor cops.
So you're talking about the yellow right here?
On their, yeah, they wore, their shirts were yellow.
Uh-huh.
And they called them the yellow jackets. And they were, because they were motor cops.
Now, I understand, as much as I worked around troopers in the media for the last 31 years, 32 years, that they ain't supposed to get out of the car without the hat on, right?
That's true.
So, and if there's, I guess the lieutenant found them, it'd be kind of a penalty, right?
Well, I was on TV without mine.
Oh,
But well, I can't go in that.
no, I don't. That's right.
There was a reason for it, that the guy killed somebody.
Yeah.
And I was showing all the dog crews
Right.
where he hit the woods and somebody took off my hat.
Remember one trooper who was given some notoriety with a sign in his honor, Mr. Minot.
Yeah. Well, there's one of his things right there on the wall they had for him.
Yeah.
That's him up there on the wall.
The history has it that he was in pursuit of someone at the time of his crash up here just before the T-Dot building. Is that correct? Roy Minot?
That's all I've heard. And when he wrecked, he flipped and his car caught on fire.
Yeah, that was a tragedy, I know. And I think that's back in 73?
It's
74?
in the 60s.
In the 60s, wow.
I think it's in 60s.
Yeah. Been a lot of troopers coming through this area here, of course. And the other building that's built in the front up there, when did that really become, was that just a driver service center or was that actually the office?
They were originally the Highway Patrol.
Okay.
It's built in 1954.
Okay.
Because this was Highway 70, and when they built the 4-lane, that was 70 and 27. So they built that building to face the state highway.
And we call it the Watson building.
And there were more troopers, so they built a bigger building for them and their equipment.
Okay.
This building wasn't, well, 2 men could work out of this, or 3, because you don't work at the same time.
So what did they do in here really to make the reports and file the reports? I see a desk right here, and of course Janice and some of the ladies and gentlemen are here, and that's fine. We're just looking this over. We're going to get you guys involved in a second. What's the Tuesdays for, Jonathan?
Do what?
The Tuesdays, 9 till...
Driver's license.
Okay, yeah. And the old typewriter, where did this come from? Was it originally?
Work. I tried to use it one day.
No, I know it probably don't work, but was it the original one from in here?
I get somewhere in the state.
Okay, all right. Yeah, and I see some of the bullhorns, the radios.
Yeah.
Technology's came a long way for
They
sure.
probably would work if you looked it up.
Wow, wow. Hey, Eddie. Hey. So, I'm going over here just for a minute because I see some familiar faces, of course. We see Danny Wright there. Who was
That was Susan.
that JW, of course, was a city.
Brooks.
Okay,
There's Teresa.
okay.
Let's see.
I believe this is John.
And Jonathan's right down here, is he, Mary? Okay.
Yeah.
There's Jonathan's picture right there. Pretty good looking guy.
This is Dennis Murray down here on this. He worked
Okay.
here.
I remember Dennis. I remember Dennis Smith. Gary Snow. Some of the others that I've worked accident scenes with. Cecil Strader. Yeah, Eddie, you know a lot of those.
Leon, which one? See?
His picture's up there. I can't see.
That's okay.
Behind me.
Oh, right here it is.
Who was that?
I'm sorry,
Janice?
Leon Miller.
Oh, yeah, Leon. That's right. Brillo Miller, our mayor's dad, who was always
Well, now,
trooper as
he
well.
was Highway Patrol, and then he worked his TBI.
Okay, that's true.
Back years ago, a retired trooper could apply to the TBI and got hired.
Wow.
You can't do that anymore, but
That's right.
back years ago you could.
All right, Janice, can you carry us on? Anybody got any questions right now? And we'll go back to
Anybody?
Eddie, of course, anybody? Come on over if you have. State your name.
Talking about how, my name is Sandy McIntosh.
Right.
I'm with Rockwood 2000. That some of the troopers actually slept in this building.
Yeah,
That's right.
there's an attic up here, and when new troopers moved in, they didn't make enough to pay rent anywhere, so they let them stay until they got established.
Oh, that's the
And that
reason.
building did the same thing over there in the attic.
Wow.
There was 2 or 3 stay. One of the, I guess J.W. Sissom, he passed away. But when he worked here, there was 2 or 3 lived there. As they come through here, of course, a lot of them got transferred out. And,
Kind of worked the circuit.
We lost a lot from transferring back to work where they came. But, and then we had a lot transfer in from other
How many of us got our driver's license here? Anybody? See, we got some hands back here, yeah.
I went to Crossville.
I got mine in 1978, right over there. Teresa Brown was working the counter then, yeah.
Was she?
Yeah, I got a funny story about that.
Courthouse.
Teresa Brown was working, and I was 18, and I wanted to drive a truck when I got out of high school, which I did get out of high school. I worked at the mill, so I was an over-road truck driver. So I said, well, I need chauffeur's license, I guess. And she says, yeah, you got $2 more. I said, yeah. So I give her $2 more, and she stamped chauffeur on my driver's license. So I was able to drive a truck. Back then, you didn't have CDL license, right? And so that was the good old days, Eddie, in my opinion.
Yes, sir.
You got anything for Jonathan?
Well, I recognized all of these
Yes.
wonderful highway patrolmen.
Yeah.
And the one I knew the best was Harry Lynn Johnson. Mm-hmm. You
What-
duck out.
Did he, I started saying, did he give you a break on a ticket or something? Or is
No,
he-
no, no.
Used to duck hunt with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Teresa.
He had a son who went to school.
Going too fast.
She would give you a little break.
Well, Mr.
Okay,
was
yeah, just-
with his daughter. We graduated together.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Mary has a question.
now I wanted to ask, because you mentioned that somebody was a sergeant. So did you have like ranks like the military?
Yeah, just like the military.
How far did it go?
Colonel,
To colonel? Wow. So what did you get to? What rank?
trooper.
He made
Trooper.
less paperwork, yeah.
Troopers had, if you were senior troopers, they wasn't a sergeant or lieutenant there, you were over.
That's true.
Because this one with the most experience, the guy that's been on the longest. And before I retired, a lot of times I was a senior trooper. And so if something happened, it fell on me.
Right.
And we didn't call our supervisors because they messed things up.
All right, yeah. Yes, yes.
That's true.
So Jonathan, where would a colonel have been? Would they have been in Knoxville or?
Politics. She's not sorry.
Well, I understand that, but I mean.
Colonel,
He can say that now.
well, Colonel, they start out as a trooper. And, well, I'm not gonna say what I want to say. And they work their way up the rank. And if you done a good job and everything, and they need a colonel, and you know the right people, they might appoint you the colonel.
So where was, like, your colonel, where was he? Was he in Roane County?
Nashville.
Nashville.
The colonel of the highway patrol station in, the commissioner of safety
Yeah.
is in Nashville.
Now, years ago as well, now, the troopers, I think, were separate from the transportation division where they check
Yeah.
trucks and the scales and all, but now they kind of joined hands, right?
Well, they did away with the motor vehicle.
Yeah.
Commercial.
Yeah, yeah.
They did away with them because they were accused of that. I don't know if they did.
Yeah, I understand. yeah.
Because I wasn't around them.
Sure.
And then the motor vehicle officers that used to run the scale, the ones that wanted to went to some more training and became troopers. But they still worked the scale house.
Sure, sure. Now,
Is there a lot of moonshine going
Lot.
back and forth
Lot
between
of those
here
pictures
and
of-
Bristol?
Lord, yeah, there still is.
That's right.
Well, that is rough. It's like that. But there's still people still make money.
Thunder Road runs right through here.
yeah, Highway 70.
Well, they don't do that much now. They do make moonshine though, because we got a guy south the river. I had people kept coming to me when I was a trooper, asking me to do something about that. And I said, I'm a trooper. They don't let us go
ABC,
investigate
yeah.
stuff like that. But I'll find some. So I went to sheriff's department, and they didn't want to do nothing. So I got a guy from the state, Alcoholic Beverage Commission, and they went. It's about 6 months later, they called me and asked me if I wanted to go down there with them. And they got the guy. They sent a female officer down there, and she made 3 buys. So they went there and busted him and got about 50 gallons or 100 of moonshine. And he worked for the county
So
Now-
how long did you work for the highway patrol?
26 years.
So in the 26 years, What's the strangest thing that you ever had happen to you
To me,
as a highway patrolman? A strange.
well, and that really stuck with me. It was in the 90s. I worked a wreck east of Kingston. It was around Thanksgiving. And this old man, he was drunk, and he was going up there, and he lived up in there, and he pulled in the wrong driveway. So he backs out and starts back down the road, 7 toward his house, and hits a pickup truck head on, knocks the truck off the road. I get there, there's no windshield, and I can see the old man in there. And I'm getting the VIN number and stuff, and he's trying to get a hold of somebody standing on the side of the road, and it's his sister. And he's so I go over and say, "Is that your brother?" He wants to talk to me. And pardon my language, but he told his sister, "I'm going to die, and I'm going to hell." I can see it right there, where he's looking between his feet. I can see it right there, and when I'm getting ready, when I'm just telling you, when I die, I'm going to hell. I can see it. And when he crushed the dash and everything on him. When they got that off of him, he took one more breath and was dead.
Well,
And that just stopped.
it will stick with you. Now, you worked in several counties, right?
I worked.
Morgan and Roane.
Well, we worked, Roane County troopers worked Morgan and Loudon also.
Okay.
And I worked in Knoxville a little bit. And I was a safety officer, and I worked, we even went to Cookville. They didn't have one.
Yeah.
So we took stuff out there and worked in their district.
Did you ever pull your gun on anybody? Did
Yeah.
you know what? Several people, I'm sure.
Well,
Never shot anybody?
no.
Okay.
Well, I thank God that every time I had to do that, they did what I told them.
Do you feel like today that it's a different world, of course, and these troopers that are out here are really, every day, they don't know whether they'll come home or not, right?
Well, that's true. Well, it's pretty bad when I was out there.
Yeah.
People didn't like us, so. But they weren't as bad as they are now.
But they respected you though, didn't they?
Some of them did, some of them don't respect nobody.
True.
But I was lucky. I stopped a car full of the Bloods. It's a gang. And they all got out of the car. All 6 of them. And I pulled my gun. I didn't point at him. I sat right there.
Yeah.
And I told him, "Get back in the car." I said, "I'm going home tonight. You may not be." And they got back in the car.
Yeah.
So I put my gun back, and I was scared, but you can't show fear.
Right, right.
You get killed. But, and I walked up there and got the ticket, got his license, wrote him a ticket for speeding. And when I got through, I told him, "Guys, don't ever do that to a police officer, because I got a little common sense. One of them's liable to shoot you when you come piling up a car."
And we just want to make sure everyone's here, of course. Eddie, Mary, any more questions, or anybody got any more questions for the man of the hour tonight?
I have one.
Okay, go ahead, Mary.
Yes, you mentioned that this was a patrol station from here to Bristol. Did you never go west?
No,
You were not in the
No.
middle of your territory, were you?
no. You're assigned certain counties, and that's where you're supposed to work. State trooper can go anywhere in the state, but the reason they don't want you going out of your area, you got court. You'd be in court all over the state, and you wouldn't be doing your job.
Is it true about quotas? You got to write so many tickets a month or so?
No, we don't. The state of Tennessee tells you, write anybody. And while I was here, this is no lie, they wrote 2 Miss Tennessee. They wrote Miss USA and Miss America.
Citations.
Worked with it. I didn't, but some of the guys I worked with did.
What for?
They're speeding.
Beatings. Okay, hit it.
One of the guys wrote Miss USA, and he said, "I didn't think she was that pretty. I see women out here just as pretty as she is." He did say that.
And he was right.
Well, I wasn't there.
Well,
But now she signed a picture of her and gave it to him. We put it on the wall. And we put on, our sergeant was Dean, So we put it in there to show him we didn't care who. We'd ride anything.
No discrimination.
That needed a ticket. So,
You know, and in all fairness, most troopers were common guys. They didn't want to harass. Now,
No,
some
no.
say in later years, some of them were smart alecks, but you never worked around anybody like that, did you?
No comment.
the troopers I worked with, we all got along, and I still think the world of all of them.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
with Dean, I think the world of him. I like J.W.
Yes.
Joe Lemons, I liked him.
They're just doing their job, right?
Well, they had their job to do, and we had ours.
Now, before, I apologize, go ahead.
A few times I kept them from getting in trouble. Well, things happen,
We understand.
and they would get mad, and I'd have to talk to them and get them out of the way so they wouldn't, cause it's gonna get me in trouble.
Quick note, seatbelt usage when it came in, when did you start having to wear your seatbelt?
The highway patrol started about 5 years before
The law.
the law.
Wow.
They made us, if they caught you not wearing it, you got 3 days off.
But I wanted him to tell about the motorcycle cops when they started.
yeah.
How did they dispatch them to Rex? Tell them about that. You
There
didn't.
wasn't any radios in the 30s.
No.
So when these guys that were in this office and all over the state, they'd go on their, like these guys had to go all the way to Bristol. So they had a route and they'd have to deal it. But those like stores had call boxes. And they'd go in there and they had keys to them. And they'd open the call box and they had a phone in it. And they'd call the dispatcher to answer. And if they had a call, wreck or something, they need to handle it, tell them. They didn't, they'd go up to the next call box. Might be 5 or 6, 10 miles from here. But that's the only communication they had. But they didn't have a radio.
And how far did your radio get out? Actually, you had some dead spots back then, right?
Well, you had channels. Oh yeah, what's line of sight?
Yeah.
The signal goes out. You get up on the mountain, and you can hear in Memphis sometimes.
Wow. Skipping through.
Well, the local channel, the one that don't go far, you could hear them talking. If there's a storm or something, you can hear them talk.
Sorry. Years ago, when we called 911, did you call this office? Is this the office that would answer for?
No,
Didn't have
we
no
called
one back then.
Oh, they'd have.
no.
Now, you-
No, but you need to.
You did not let me.
Usually, even back years ago, the county had radios and stuff, it's local, and they had a way to get a hold of us
well,
years ago. And then when they put radios in the trooper car, we had our own, and then eventually we could talk to the county. We finally got where because they had a lot of times, and you could hear them going to a wreck, and we'd wind up working it. So if we knew it was a wreck, we'd head that way. So,
now, when I was trucking, we recognized you guys as bears. Why did that name come out? Is it because of the hat?
and the Smoky Bear for the forest, they just started calling us Smoky Bear.
Now, you could hide years ago. That law changed where you can't, you gotta be visible now if you do a saturation. And even now, they even have to publicize where they're gonna be setting up a roadside.
When I came on, if there's 2 of us working, we could have a roadblock.
Yeah.
And that, you just told your sergeant. And our saturations back then, we usually were around bars and stuff.
right.
If there's a bar that had a lot of trouble,
Oh,
they
yeah.
might bring in a few extra troopers, and we'd go through there and check everything.
Crown Victoria was the main car back then, right? Now they went to the mini SUV and the Ford. So did you ever drive the Ford or was you always in the car?
I drove Ford.
Yeah.
The Crown Vic.
Didn't they originally start, everybody had motorcycles and nobody had a car, is that?
When they started the highway patrol, every trooper had a bike, a Harley. And then they had, when it first started, the troopers that were on rode bikes, and they had 5 cars, and that was for supervisors. That's only had 5. It's hard to imagine 5 cars, but
My
there wasn't that many roads. There wasn't an interstate.
Yeah.
You got to remember this few state road, but they're still having a lot of people killed there's a book over there, they kept records from the 30s to the 40s in that little notebook. It just told how many got killed that year.
Last question I have is, we knew and recognized the cars, and we'll take some photos. They had all kinds of antennas on them. Was that just different branches in city
Well,
governments or county?
Yeah, well, there's different radio systems and they use different
Okay.
antennas.
Yeah.
But when you went out on the motorcycles, you had to go out in bad weather too, rain,
Yeah,
snow,
I mean,
and
that
all
was-
that.
Rain,
We're
shine,
around
snow,
Well,
ice,
they
they had to
gave
go.
them pretty good raincoats and stuff.
All right.
They gave them pretty good ones when, the whole time I worked, the ones we had leaked.
Do we remember the year this was made into a museum? I think, Eddie, do you remember, it's 97, wasn't it, 98 maybe? Or Marion?
You're close.
That's close.
Yeah, I've got a tape of Judy, of the whole thing. I got a tape of the dedication. Yeah.
And that building's on the National Register
Okay.
for historic buildings.
And we encourage anyone who's maybe see this down the road to come by and look it over, yeah.
This is part of, not just Rockwood, but or the Highway
Yeah.
Patrol. It's for the whole state. Because a lot of these pictures are from other agencies or other troopers from
Sure.
other parts of the state.
All right.
A long time ago, Dudley, several of us went to Nashville and talked T-Dot into giving us this building.
Wow.
Well, the building was too small for us. So we went back to T-Dot, and of course, you had to make an appointment. Went back up there, Nashville, and asked them if they would donate this building over here. So they did. So actually, the city of Rockwood owns this building and this one over here.
Yeah. And it's no doubt really good for our town. It's appreciated much.
Well, the city gave the state this lot to build it.
And may I say that 2000 organization's done a great job in beautifying it too on the outdoors. Thank you, Jonathan. Appreciate your service.
Well, you're welcome.